Good afternoon, folks. You haven't been paying attention to the news and media or entertainment. There's been, I think, a blog post or some post of some sort every day, multiple times a day, on Star Wars, of course, leading up to the December 20th release date. So there's all kinds of news, all kinds of speculation, all sorts of weird EU legends, possible things that might happen in the movie. That's all speculation, but then we get the opinions of professionals. And we just had previously, I can't remember the name, is it Khan or what have you on Twitter, I did a post about, and how there's people in the know or people at or in Hollywood who are going, hey, you know what? Last Jedi wasn't very good. It didn't work well. And the fans know this. Sensible people know this. People who know Star Wars, either the EU or the films themselves, or even just some video games know, hey, wait a second, this isn't jiving right. Would the hero of the galaxy really just sort of give up because he felt something bad about his nephew and just decided to scurry away alone? Bit odd. So let's see what a gentleman by the name of director Joseph Kahn said in regards to The Last Jedi. Now, if you don't know who Joseph Kahn is, he's written or done over 178 music videos, a few feature films. I think he's mostly known for the Power Rangers, the adult version of the Power Rangers. I can't say, but he's worked with all sorts of musicians, and he has his videography. Let's just check that out. Boy, a whole bunch. So just he knows what he's doing. He's in the business. He knows people. This is his thing. He knows how to shoot video. There's Power Rangers 2015. Just, he knows his stuff. He's not trying to, curry favor with Disney or other people. He's just speaking honestly. And it's just a fun little story to finally hear nowadays, years later, that, hey, you know what? The Last Jedi wasn't actually a very good movie. Over the last 2 years, there have been no shortage of hot takes regarding Rian Johnson's film, and actual detailed takes, so thank you, sir. Over time, the fans have been the most vocal, while the folks in Hollywood have been pretty reserved. Well, it appears that we're entering the final phase of the Last Jedi critiques, where everyone, including actors and filmmakers involved, as well as outside Hollywood folks, feel the need to express their opinions before Rise of Skywalker is released. So here we have Joseph Kahn. Torque and bodied. I don't know. Again, I don't know this dude. I don't know his work. I only know him from the Power Rangers because that was an awesome, I think it was a fan-made thing. His R-rated Power Rangers short film recently went to social media and discussed his views on The Last Jedi. Long story short, he dislikes what Johnson did with Luke Skywalker and openly wonders why the filmmaker didn't just listen to Mark Hamill when crafting the story. Mark Hamill spent 4 decades with Luke Skywalker, and this he did on Twitter. George Lucas created the character, but Hamill brought him to life. If anyone knows what Luke would or wouldn't do, it's him. Actors are not props, they are storytellers. Now, usually I would say, well, the creative vision is behind the director, producer, writer, or the writer alone. And the producer or director then has to take that and say, okay, how do we render that on the film, on the screen, with music and sound and audio and all that stuff? Difficult job, very difficult job to do all these things. And Disney just gave Luke to some guy called Rian Johnson, and he just did whatever the hell they want, and they just went along with that. That's how it felt. They said, hey, he's a filmmaker, he knows what he's doing, and he thinks the same way as us. He likes women and the Force is female and all this other wonderful jazz. Give it to him. I'm sure he'll be great. There's no indication that there was any creative struggle, that there was any writing, that Rian Johnson was like second guessing himself, or the editors or the creative team were going, hey, maybe Rian, maybe you should slow down at this point, or maybe this might not work. There's no indication in the extra scenes or any of the other stories we have that there was a problem of any creative sense in the production of the film. Everything just seemed to be like, yep, Rian Johnson's the man. We do it. We're going to spend, $30 million or whatever it was on the set of Canto Bight, which was a complete side story that did nothing. Okay, great. Let's do that. I mean, it's ridiculous stuff, stories that we hear about everything being great and fantastic. when the film was so poorly shot. And I don't mean visually shot. I don't mean the effects were bad. Obviously, they put a lot of money into making the thing look and sound good. But the shooting itself, actually going, hey, this is a shot we need. We need to have these really slow-moving planes that look like some bastardization of World War II bombers in space. So, lots of questionable scenes, to put it lightly. He added, why are there 9 movies about Skywalkers? Because through Hamill, Skywalker is a symbol for hope. Each episodic branch leads back to him, the beating heart of the story. If you don't love Luke, you don't love Star Wars, you just like spaceships. Now that's an interesting take on what it means to be Star Wars, because everyone has their own understanding of what a Star Wars film should be. In my view, it should definitely have space battles or spaceships, and they're having battles in space. There should be a light and dark force user of some sort. They should be having some sort of lightsaber battle. And there should be some sort of political struggle going on, and maybe a philosophy that's in conflict. So the light versus dark, that's always good. Good versus evil. Destiny versus choice, that's a good one too in science fiction. So there's lots of things you can do that are rather not solid, not concrete in a Star Wars film. So to say that the Skywalker or Luke is the heart of the film, that's an interesting take. I wouldn't say it's wrong. It's very specific though. So without Luke, there's no Star Wars. Maybe in the films, maybe in the first trilogy. The concept of Luke in the prequels, I don't think really fits. You could say that was the point of why Darth Vader was so reserved or reserved himself to the dark side because of the death of Padme. You can't really blame Luke, of course, for that unless you're a really crazy bastard, but there's no indication that Darth Vader blamed his children for the death of Padme. He just was really sad about it. And then the movie's over, and the whole trilogy is over. You're like, okay, that was it? So to put Luke in the forefront, okay. Interesting take. Well, this could all be perceived as more evil insinuations against The Last Jedi. The filmmaker goes a step further and brings it all together with how he thinks Rian Johnson ruined one of the most important aspects of Star Wars, the Force. That was one of many things that Rian Johnson ruined. It was Luke. It was the Force. It was Force Ghosts. It was light speed ramming. A few other things I can't think of because it's been a while. But whatever he touched has been broken. The Force is for everyone is not a philosophy. It's a marketing gimmick. He said, movies are told subjectively through the protagonist's journey, sure, unless you have a third-person omniscient perspective as a narrator, then you focus on the subjective perspective of the protagonist, sure. We identify with Luke and relate to his underdog status. Yes, that is true. Luke is the underdog. He is also the everyman. We all relate to Luke. Girls, boys, young and old can all go, yep, he's the hero, he's the good guy. We get it. The Force is a metaphor, not a literal collective video game achievement. It is many things. It is definitely a metaphor. It is a philosophy, and it is actually a real physical thing in the world of Star Wars. So he's just saying, well, it is a metaphor. That's the main component of it. And that's fine. You can do that. However, we know the Force is more than just a metaphor, along with the retcon of the Force is in all living things. It's an energy field that surrounds us and binds us together. It's based on the amount of midi-chlorians you've got. So every living thing has the Force, but without the right amount of midi-chlorians, you just can't tap into it in a less than biological sense. Whatever it does biologically normally, we don't know. So that would be the other component, the lore component, the thing that fans and people who know the EU or Legends go, yeah, it is all those things, but it's a lot more. It's more than just a metaphor. Well, there's nothing wrong with taking it purely on the metaphorical level and understanding that, which Mr. Joseph Kahn has done. When we root for Hamill Luke, we are already rooting for ourselves. Yes, we identify with the protagonist, sure. After Last Jedi, the Force is impersonal, just something to dole out to random broom kids. It's just a meaningless participation trophy that anyone can win. It's removed of all metaphor or meaning. And just think about that scenario of The Last Jedi. So here you have Rey, who's a god, who can do all these things instantly, or almost instantly on the second try. There's no record of her childhood, really, of her having any of those abilities. Then you have some random nobody, a kid, a slave child, on Canto Bight, near the end of the film, and he can just suddenly use force pull. Okay, just see what that implies. It implies that this kid is going to be even stronger, potentially, than Rey, because he has such an affinity with it. He can just do it naturally. I'm sure that kid was not taught by a Jedi, just like Rey wasn't. And then you have that general feeling that, oh, everyone can use the Force. Everyone gets a trophy. Everyone's a winner. No one's special because everyone's special. That sort of crap. The whole premise of Star Wars was that the reveal of Darth Vader as Luke's dad, Luke discovering he had a long-lost uncle or some hero character that was a secondary father figure to him, that knew his dad and trained him in the ways of the Force, etc., etc. That's a special thing. That's a unique thing. It is a fantasy for that purpose. That, oh, you're the sort of the chosen one, but not by fate, just because you have a lineage that no one gave it to, no one taught you. You were a secret. You had a secret family lineage that was just forgotten, and all of a sudden it's catching up with you because of whatever ramifications or scenarios that other people are going through, like the Empire. So that is a fantasy scenario. And to then say, well, you know what? It doesn't matter anymore. There's no more fantasy. There's no more philosophy. There's no more Jedi. It's just, hey, it's a force of nature. Everyone's got it. And suddenly kids can use it amazingly. So not helping out the magic of movies and Star Wars as as a memory to people who remember it from the 80s, 70s and 80s. And not helping the new generation believe in anything magical when the message of... What is the message of The Last Jedi exactly? I think it's just everything sucks, life is pointless, and you're going to lose. That's pretty much what happens. You run around in circles and you wind up where you started. He concluded by saying he suspects that every fan does. Retcons are coming to Rise of Skywalker. We'll just have to wait and see how this whole story plays out on December 20th, when the Skywalker saga is finished. And yeah, you can click on the link, and there's a whole list of his thread. I'll link that in the description if you want to see it. And yeah, that's kind of what we're expecting. We're expecting some retcons. We're expecting some really bad plot reveals, like Rey's parents. The leaks are with every other leak, with every other trailer. The leak looks, the original leak that was posted on 4chan, on Reddit, is just, it looks ironclad. It's just, oh, yep, this is going to happen. There's a dagger involved. Palpatine's involved. Like, it's all these things. They're like, oh dear. And I don't think it's going to upstage the horror of storytelling that was Last Jedi. It's just going to be a rickety mess that you're like, oh, they have to go this route. There's really nothing else that JJ can do. And JJ is not exactly this clever writer to bring it all together or to fix the problems of his first movie, let alone the catastrophe that was The Last Jedi. So finally good to see a director, not necessarily in the realm of science fiction or sci-fi, to say, hey, you know what? This movie sucks. The themes suck. The characters suck. They lost the heart and soul of Star Wars. They didn't know how to characterize Luke properly. Again, a lot of problems with The Last Jedi could have been corrected with a few little pieces of dialogue, a few little flashbacks, a few little plot points sprinkled in there just to connect the dots properly. But Ryan didn't want to do that. He wanted to just throw it under the bus, do his own thing, because he was oh so clever. Alas. Well, we're going to find out another week or two whenever we decide to go see this film. what has become of the Star Wars trilogy of 2019. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Have yourself a great day.